On July 15, 1897, Henry Lincoln Johnson was born. Many aspects of his life before the war are unknown, other than that he was born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. His parents' names are also unknown, but most believe he was born into a poor family. Johnson became a member of the all-black 369th Army Infantry on June 5, 1917. This infantry was nicknamed by the Germans as the Hellfighters, who soon became more widely known as the Harlem Hellfighters.
And it turned out that the Harlem Hellfighters the name was worthy of the unit, because it turned out they became one of the most decorated units in the French Army. I think won awards not only individually, but the entire unit was decorated.
Even in the Army, there was segregation. There was significant tension and problems occurring among the white troops who refused to fight alongside them, and even the leader of the 369th Regiment, General John Pershing, considered the black soldiers inferior. Despite all of this, the French, who were not as concerned with race as the Americans, happily welcomed the Hellfighters and put them alongside the French Fourth Army. Henry Johnson and the Harlem Hellfighters were stationed at Outpost 20 in the western edge of the Argonne Forest in France.
Privates Henry Johnson and Ethan Roberts from New Jersey were taking over the midnight to 4 a.m. shift. They were given French weapons and helmets, and not long after their shift began, they were shot at by the Germans. Johnson acted quickly and began to fire grenades at the oncoming enemy. His partner, Roberts, was hit by a German grenade and knocked unconscious. The grenade soon ran out, and he began to use his rifle. After trying to replace the cartridge, the rifle jammed and became seemingly useless. All out of options, Johnson began to club Germans with the butt of his rifle until the wood splintered.
As the Germans began to capture his partner, he resisted with the only remaining weapon he had, his bolo knife. He was able to wound 10 to 20 Germans and kill 4 while sustaining 21 injuries during the siege. Once reinforcements arrived, the enemy retreated and Henry Johnson survived. He and Roberts were given the Croix de Guerre by the French, and Johnson alone was rewarded with a gold palm for extraordinary valor. Unlike the French, the U.S. did not recognize Johnson's bravery until after he died in 1929 at age 32.
When they returned back home, the Hellfighters were not allowed to join the parade with the other soldiers, so they held their own parade up and down Fifth Avenue in New York as thousands of spectators celebrated their safe arrival. He lived as a celebrated war hero for a while, and his face was even used on Army enlistment advertisements that said, "Henry Johnson licked a dozen Germans. How many stamps have you licked?" But Johnson's life took a turn for the worse when he was refused disability pay. Unable to support himself, he slowly spiraled into alcoholism, and after he was left by his wife and children, soon found himself in poverty. Once a war hero, Johnson was now forgotten by the majority of the population and was left penniless. He died in 1929, and it was thought that he was buried in a small and poor grave in Albany. Sadly, many other Harlem Hellfighters experienced this type of discrimination after the war, although they were highly decorated by France.
After his death, his son Herman Johnson began to help his father's story gain more popularity, and eventually he was recognized and awarded by the U.S. government. In 2001, historians discovered that Johnson was in fact buried with military honors in Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. Scott Sandman, who worked with the State Division of Military and Naval Affairs and assisted in finding Johnson's grave, said, "He was a real tragic figure, and it is a tragic story. In the initial period after the war, he was touted by politicians, but once that was all over, everyone forgot about Henry Johnson." In 1996, President Clinton awarded Johnson with the Purple Heart. In 2002, during Black History Month, he was awarded with the Distinguished Service Cross, the nation's second highest military honor. His son, Herman, who accepted the award, said, "I'm glad it coincides with Black History Month because people should know what Black people have done. Future generations should know that there were people like Henry Johnson and mold their lives after people like that."
After receiving the medal on his father's behalf, Herman Johnson said, "I am amazed at the respect the people of Albany had for him. Many people anxiously awaited the day when this war hero would receive the Medal of Honor." U.S. Representative Michael McNulty said, "I will not rest. I will not abandon my quest for justice until Henry Johnson receives the Medal of Honor and until his name is etched on the Wall of Heroes." In 2015, this request was recognized and Henry Johnson was awarded with the Medal of Honor by President Barack Obama.
America can't change what happened to Henry Johnson. We can't change what happened to too many soldiers like him who went uncelebrated because our nation judged them by the color of their skin and not the content of their character. But we can do our best to make it right. In 1996, President Clinton awarded Henry Johnson a Purple Heart. And today, 97 years after his extraordinary acts of courage and selflessness, I'm proud to award him the Medal of Honor.
Few achievements have ever come close to the pride I feel in accepting the Medal of Honor on behalf of Sergeant Henry Johnson. Henry Johnson displayed the highest ideals of our Army values long before they were taught to our soldiers. In a time when Henry Johnson knew that his actions, his conduct, and his Harlem Hellfighters regiment, and even his race were under scrutiny across the Army and our country.
Many have been impacted by this man's amazing story of bravery and perseverance. Mayor of Johnson's hometown, Jerry Jennings, said, "I'm proud to be the mayor of the capital city of the state, but I'm particularly proud because Henry Johnson was a citizen here.